I'm sitting here on a dockside property looking over this lake that I don't own in a state where I don't live. Because one reason or alone, and that is because of paper. Usually I'm here for cardboard. If you clicked on this assuming this was for cardboard, I understand the confusion, but no, we're talking about paper today. Specifically, we're going to talk about this book that I just read. Like, I literally finished it 20 minutes ago, and I've just been thinking, like, I need to talk about this. This is a book called Yugioh and the Nightmare Painter. It's by Brandon Sanderson. He's a fantasy author. He's done works such as the Stormlight Archives, Mistborn. He finished The Wheel of Time, which is one of my favorite book series ever. By the way, yes, I am a Yugioh player that reads that we exist, liberals. See, this book was made basically in secret. If you know anything about the whole Brandon Sanderson lore, mythos, whatever you might call it. He did this thing about a year ago where he said, surprise, I have 4 secret books and I'm going to release them, but I need help. So he did this Kickstarter. This was from that. He said it was his favorite of the 4 books to work on. After reading it, it's my favorite of the 3 books out of it I've read so far. I don't know, I guess just a lot of reasons. This is a good story. It's also got a really cool aesthetic. Primarily, the aesthetic between our 2 main characters here. I don't know if you can see them. Hopefully you can. There, you can see them. Which is Yumi, and then the Nightmare Painter down there. See, 2 of them, they live in very different worlds. Within the context of the story. Yumi, she lives in this world where the sun is like so much closer than our sun. Like imagine that you can't see. Never mind. But closer, and it's very hot. The ground is made of stone, so you need to wear like thick wooden clogs to walk around, travel at night, that kind of stuff. And she's in this world, and she is this person. She's called the Yugioh. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I certainly hope I am. And basically, she is this girl in commanding primal spirits, and her job is she wakes up every day. She has these servants attend her. They feed her, they dress her, they bathe her. They basically make it so that she has no anything to call her own, no will of her own other than to serve the land and serve the people by contacting spirits through stacking stones and basically creating art through the stacking of stones, which just draws them out, and then the spirits brought out by her art or stone stacking become things to help the people of her land, which is this very agricultural, old-timey land based off of like ancient Korea. And so she's in charge of doing this, making these devices to help the people, survive this very harsh, very hot, inhospitable land, which it's very cool. Meanwhile, you have this other character from a different world, which is completely covered by night. This thing called the Shroud, and it's night all the time. It's based off of modern-day Japan, and there's like neon lights of blue and magenta going throughout the city where this guy works. He's called the Painter in the story, at least at the beginning of the story, through basically all of it. Never mind, I don't know if I said it like that, but his job is he is a nightmare painter, and he's one of hundreds, within his world, and their job is to find these things called nightmares, that's the name, and paint them so that they are no longer these walking, shadowy monsters, because they are that. I should have explained that better. He paints them, and then they stop being these things. They become whatever he paints, which is, at the beginning, bamboo shoots, because it's easy, it's simple, it's clean, it works. And, his job, it just feels super mundane. It's like, not to say the things I'm about to say are mundane, but think of like, EMTs, firefighters, police officers, stuff like that, where like it's very normal, like they provide an important service, but you know, it's not anything where you look at somebody and it's like, oh my gosh, a knight appeared, you know, like from his castle down the road. It's just very like, you see it, it happens. Their job is to keep you safe. You know, and basically these two people from two very different worlds start interacting with each other in a way that none of them expected. They basically do a urinate kind of thing where they find each other in each other's bodies. Like Yumi, she wakes up and she's in the painter's body. The painter, he wakes up and he's in Yumi's body on her worlds, and vice versa. The only difference between like something like urinate and this is that the other person is there with them too, but they're in like a spiritual form, you know, like a ghost, just kind of hanging around. Like they can't interact with their own world around them, so they have to teach the person who they are with how to, you know, live their lives and learn their art forms and do their job, which is just a really cool, unique premise, and one that I really latched onto once they really get into the swing of it. I don't know. I could say a lot more, I think, but I don't want to like say a lot of things without, you know, spoiling the story. And I think that's probably the best way to do it. There are two people from two different worlds. They have important jobs, albeit mundane in the context of their own worlds, just something that's normal for them but fantastical for us. It is very much written like that for the character who does what they do, and you know, of course, the people who are now in the body of the other go to these worlds and everything's so weird and strange and magical, you know, kind of, except it's also frustrating because like they don't know anything about each other or their own different worlds, and now they're stuck with each other. I think that's about all that I'll say about like, the story within the book. I think it does a really good job of just like building on the relationship between these two characters and, you know, growing it from this frustrating thing between them into something where, you know, it's like it almost seems less normal going back to how things originally were than it was being with each other in this weird limbo state. And I lost my train of thought there somewhat. You know, it's just one of these things where you see these characters and you can kind of tell where some things are going to go right off the bat, and kind of like the certain ideas, threads, trails like that are happening where like you kind of pick up on them. What I did not expect was how it kind of would break some of these things. Like there were certain times where I was like dead sure something was going to happen this way or that way, and it just wouldn't. And part of me is like, dang it, I got it wrong. But then you read and you're like, okay, this makes more sense within the context of the story. It's really great. It's played off very well. And looking back, it's like, I don't know if I could have seen it done any better, which I guess makes sense for somebody, you know, like Brandon Sanderson, who makes these incredible works. You know, if you don't know who that is, I get it. I didn't know who he was until about like 2 years ago. I was reading the Wheel of Time series, and then I got to the point where the original author died, and Brandon took his place, took up the mantle, and finished the series for him with his blessing and the blessing of his wife as well. You know, and did a really great job of that. So I'm like, man, I like this guy. I need to see what else he's done. Started reading some of those other works. And when I heard about the secret projects thing, I wasn't completely sold on them. I thought, oh, just work Brandon Sanderson. He's got a very particular writing style that some people like. I do. Other people don't like it for some reasons that I guess personally I have some, you know, opinions, I guess, about how he writes. It's almost, I don't want to say too optimistic because it's not, but it kind of is, like in ways that it's like it seems very cinematic. I'll put it that way. And I expected, more cinematic stuff. And then I came to this book and really this entire Secret Stories series, and it seemed like none of these were really the same as the other works that I read by him. Every one of them is very unique and written in a way which he kind of, I guess, I don't want to say challenges himself or pushes himself to write differently, but he writes something that he normally wouldn't because of the context of what he has done as an author. And I guess I remember, on his channel he did like brief reads of the initial chapters of the projects he'd be working on. And the first two were really good. They were very, the first one was very whimsical. The second one was very funny, I guess. And I liked both of them, but I wasn't sold on whether I wanted to buy the books or go into the fundraiser. Because I wasn't like a mega fan of his works. I still wouldn't say I am, but I do really enjoy it. And then he started reading this book in the first, I guess, few chapters of it, and instantly I knew, like, I need to get this book right away. I'm so excited for this, like, in a way that I've never really been excited for a book before. I've never, heard about a book before it came out and then thought, man, I really want to read that. That's never been the case. It's always been people have, review it beforehand, or people I know have talked about it and say, oh, this is very good, you should read it, and that's how I learned about this stuff. There was none of this. It was just, I listened to the story, or the beginning of the story for the first time, realized I really like this, I want to read this, which I'm very glad that I did, because this has been like one of the highlights of my summer and my time reading, I guess, Sanderson's work. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I think very highly of this. This isn't super scripted. It's not like a lot of bullet points. This is why I like it. This is why I don't like it. I think it's just a combination of great world building, great characters, a very, just a very beautiful story, I'll put it that way, between two people who learn to really appreciate each other, which, I guess, reading the afterword by him, he doesn't really do a lot of stories like that, or a lot of, like, things that involve, like, I guess romance would be the proper word to use here, but the way that he did it was just expertly done. You wouldn't have known this is the first time you really did something like this, because of just how well it's put together. The only thing that would really keep me from recommending this to people, which I'm going to ignore and recommend this to people, is that it's some of the plot points and the details within the story rely on people who know about his other stories, because in his work, all of the stories, except for one of the secret projects and his work on the Wheel of Time, all are in the same universe, in this place called the Cosmere, which is like, our universe. They have the Cosmere, and all of his book stories take place on different worlds within that universe, with the connecting line between all of them being like certain characters or certain ideas that exist on one world same as another. And two characters, the narrator, who tells the story about these two people, and the noodle shop assistant, because she's important, are both beings from different worlds. One of them being a, this character that plays a pivotal role in probably his most, I'd say, iconic series, being the World Stormlight Archives, that being Boyd. And another character from that same world named Design, who is a cryptic, which is just disguised as a woman, and they're both on this world, only Hoyd is not having a great time. If you read the book, you'll understand why. In Cryptic, the Cryptic Design, she's having a great time because she's running a noodle shop, and she is just having a lot of fun with that. And her interactions with the two main characters are just great. I love them. It's like, I don't know. I'm getting a little off track. The point is that there are certain ideas within this story, certain concepts that you wouldn't know unless you read some of his other works. So if you go into this book, you might not understand some things as nuanced as, like, I guess I understood, as, you know, some people would find certain things even more nuanced because they read more than me of his work. I'm still very new to his stuff, but I'm having a great time going through it. So, you know, if you're like, man, I want to know everything about every detail of this world, or this book world series, whatever it's called, before going into it, you're going to have a bad time. There's going to be certain things that confuse you, and honestly, they kind of confused me at first until I, you know, read more of his stuff, and then, you know, between the announcement of this book and actually picking it up and reading it, that now I look back and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's great. I love that. You know, you don't need that though. That's all I'm gonna say. You don't need that to enjoy the book. It's just these things help, I guess, stabilize the worlds in which they exist. It explains why there's a narrator who is not one of the main two characters. It explains why there is a noodle shop lady who is crazy without, you know, seeming crazy. Like, not within the story. She is very crazy in the story, but within the context of, you know, reading the story, you know, it doesn't seem too outlandish. And yeah, you know, that's all I really wanted to say about this. I know this is just kind of a rambling of ideas, which, welcome to the channel, I guess. You know, before I guess turn this off, you know, I just wanted to talk about, for those who were like, ah, I made it all the way through to the end, you know, thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate those who do like, you know, listening to me ramble on about stuff. Most of it feels kind of like dumb to me. Other things feel not as dumb. You know, I mean, it's all just, I don't know. I like doing it. It's fun. I don't want to take it too seriously. I just guess I wanted to use this as sort of an outlet to talk about things that I like to talk about, that I don't normally do in other ways. So for those who just see my stuff and, you know, they see like the deck profiles or that frog, the Jamp video, which is fun. At least I think so. You know, I guess for the real ones, thank you. For those who just stay by, they see a quick thing and leave, also thank you. You know, I did not expect anything out of this. I just kind of expected oh, I got 75 views, that's great, you know, on like a video about me talking about a dumb frog jam thing. So yeah, I guess this is also just kind of a thanks for that. Other thing I wanted to say is that, you know, I did release a video and it got like 52 views. I think it's good. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. I'm leaving it till the end because I'm like, I don't know. You know, I like it. I'm gonna do more stuff like that going forward, whether people watch it or not. I just like making it. But, you know, if you see it and you think, wow, this is really good, I I like sharing that with other people. If not, just phooey, I won't blame you for it. It's not stellar content. It's just things I like. Yeah, that's about it. Read Yumi and The Nightmare Painter. It's a really good book. You can probably find it in bookstores at this point. I'd be surprised if you couldn't. Yeah, have a wonderful day. Enjoy the sunset, and God bless.